So now we come to an important question. What is a choice? Now this is a word that you have known your whole life. It is fairly common sense, but you might be so familiar with this term that you don't actually have a concrete understanding, at least philosophically, of what a choice is. So just to make sure that we don't skip over this, we're going to cover it in this video. So a choice is often called a decision or a selection or a determination. Choices, determinations, these are kind of synonymous words. And what that means, and there's a reason why it is called a determination, is because it is the process by which some outcome becomes certain. Some course of action, some action becomes certain. So another way we can restate this is that choices are the cause of an action, a course of action, or an effect. So notice that. It's by which a outcome becomes certain, meaning that that outcome, after a real choice is made, cannot be otherwise, and there is no possibility of a different outcome. So let's illustrate that using our train track example that we've used in the prior two videos. So now this doesn't represent physical train tracks any longer, or a physical train. What this represents are different choices that you can make, and your will is the train. So you come up to an intersection where you could go track A, track B, or track C, and that represents the point at which you make a decision. One of those tracks must be taken. So let's say in this example that you chose track B. So now you're on track B. That is now the outcome that cannot be otherwise. It is certain that you will take track B, and that is just the simple result of your choice. This is what we all mean when we talk about making a decision or making a choice. At that present moment, when I have really truly made a choice, it would be impossible for me to take track A or to take track C. Because by the act of me choosing track B, what I have in effect done is said no to track A and track C. Almost like when two people get married, they are saying yes to one another and no to everyone else. And so it is just as certain that I will take track B as it is certain in the negative sense, as we talked about in the second video, that I will not take tracks A or C. And there is no possibility of me taking tracks A or C because I have made the choice to choose track B. This can get a little redundant, but I hope this is clear and isn't confusing. But there are some easy misconceptions. Many times people will say that even after you made the choice, even after you're on track B, well, it could still be otherwise. Like you have the freedom to still choose other options like track A or C. But the only way in which that is possible is if you haven't actually made a choice yet, which means you're still back here. And if you're still back there, you still have a choice to make. It is only after you make a choice that things become certain. So if I've really made a choice, that by definition means that certain outcomes, in our example A and C, have been made impossible by the result of our own decision. And so if it is really true that I could possibly be on another track, that means I haven't made a choice yet. So I'm still before the intersection. Another misconception might be someone who says, well, what if I choose to just not take one of these options? What if I choose to do nothing? And that is just to get a little bit lost in this metaphor, which again is not the physical representation of a train and three different train tracks. These represent choices. So you can hear the contradiction in the person's question. What if I choose to do nothing? Which means that to do nothing is still a choice. And let's say that's what option C is. Option C would be to do nothing. Well, let's say I choose that. Now I'm on track C. Track C is now what is the certain outcome. It can't be otherwise. And what we're saying is that to do nothing is that certain outcome. Meaning that if tracks A and B represent options where I actually do some positive action, it's impossible that I could be saying at one time that I'm choosing to do nothing and then do something, right? I would be lying to you if I said that I was doing nothing and yet I was doing something else. So the same thing is true. If I choose track C, that is the outcome that cannot be otherwise, and that could include even the situation of doing nothing, because doing nothing is still a choice and an act of the will. So hopefully that clarifies what a choice is and how it relates to certainty. And that's our key takeaway for today, is that we must use certainty to talk about our choices. And anyone who says that you don't actually have to use these certain terms, the phrases, all these different things that we've introduced up to this point to talk about your choices, Well, they're denying what a choice even is. And again, this is common sense. This is the agreed upon definition across the board. We're going to get into later videos as to where the real controversy lies when we talk about free will and choices, but everybody across the board knows that a choice creates certainty. It is a determination. It makes some outcome that cannot be otherwise. And so if we don't use certainty to talk about our choices, what we're really doing is saying that we haven't actually made a choice, and we're not talking about choices at all. The rub is going to be where our definitions of certainty aren't the same. And that is where we're going to get ourselves into a little bit of a problem if we're not aware of the different definitions of certainty that are in play. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next video.